I had a great opportunity one time to explain how communication strategy comes into play on behalf of corporations. I was at a teller doing some banking at the TD Bank, and the teller, while he was doing the stuff that you have to do when you're doing the actual banking, his hands were busy below the counter, and he looked up to me and he said, "So what do you do for a living?" And I said, "I'm a communications strategist." And he said, "Oh, what does that mean?" So I said to him, "Well, the conversation that you're having with me right now?" And he said, looked a little uncomfortable, and he said, "Yeah." I said, "So at one point, someone took you and the other people in the company together and said, it's important for our brand that while you're doing the banking, in those moments when your hands are beneath the counter doing the stuff that you do in order to facilitate the banking, that you take the time to have a short, meaningful conversation with the customer," which in my case is me. And I know, I'm sorry, but I know I'm not supposed to know that, and that's not supposed to be what we're talking about right now, and you're not allowed to admit to me that you've had that training, but I know you've had it. And he looked a little uncomfortable, but he kind of nodded at me, and I said, "Here's the thing. The reason why you were trained to have this conversation with me, or one similar to it, is because the bank that you work for has adopted a positioning, which is, as you know, banking should be this comfortable. And what you're doing in having these conversations with me and the other clients who come in is making them feel comfortable. It works. We're having a great conversation and my banking is getting done. And basically what you're doing is delivering on the promise of the company by communicating with me." I told him, "Here's the thing though. It's not just the conversations that we're having, but also that if I turn around and look behind me, there's a green chair that looks just like the green chairs that you guys are using as a symbol of comfort. So not only is it a promise that's being used in your advertising, but it's actually in the branch where I could, if I wanted to, sit down in the chair while I'm waiting to speak to a manager. And it's a comfortable chair, so it does deliver on the promise." But it goes a little bit further than that, because behind you on the wall, there's posters. And in the posters, there's pictures of people who are benefiting from your products. And all of those people are depicted in a way that's believable, that's where I can see myself in those photographs. It's very clear that the company's made a decision to be inclusive in their choice of models. They haven't just used stock models, they've actually hired people who will present themselves in a way to make it believable that this interracial couple has just bought a house and they've got a mortgage through TD, or that this same-sex couple has just started a business together and the loan that they got from TD is what powered it. So there's an inclusiveness which is associated with comfort, which is delivered on by the chairs in the branch and the friendliness of the tellers and the fact that we're invited in to be people, not just customers. And it all adds up to an experience that the customers get, which lines up with the promise that the bank makes that banking can be this comfortable. Now, the reason why it works, and here's the most important part, I told him, is that if you're going to differentiate one bank from another bank, you can't do it on the basis of the numbers. You can't do it on the specifics of your product, because banks are what I call an all things being equal value proposition. There isn't a single thing that one bank can promise that another bank can't immediately emulate or copy because they realize that their competition is getting ahead of them because they offered a slightly different rate or a different way of adding up the points on their credit card product, or whatever the thing is. If it comes down to numbers and money, any bank can do what any other bank can do and make everything the same. So what TD did that was brilliant was it said, we're not going to differentiate ourselves on the basis of our product. We will still be competitive and we will communicate that. But if we want people to understand how this bank is different, we'll do it on the basis of something that the clients can genuinely relate to and we can genuinely deliver on, which is making the experience of banking with us comfortable, pleasant, enjoyable almost, so that when people say it's time to go to the bank, if they're banking at TD, it won't seem like a task. It'll be something that just fits into their day in a pleasant way.